So go ahead and jump to your resource pack directory, and let's open up the second step, which is called More Forms, Sending Mail, and Switch Statement. Go ahead and copy all of the code and paste it over the code that's currently in your test.php file and save it. I'm going to go ahead and scroll up to the top. In this step, we're going to explore a few new concepts. Let's go ahead and begin by reading through the code as PHP would initially when it renders this page. So we begin with an opening PHP tag, which starts our code. We initialize a string to be empty, which is called myString, and we'll get back to why in just a little bit. And then we're checking to see if a variable is set. Now this variable follows the same form as the get variable did that we used in our previous step. It had the $sign and then an underscore, and then the name is all capitalized. This time though, instead of saying get, it's request. So in our previous step, we talked about how there were two different methods to submit a form. One was get and one was post. In this example, we're going to be using post. And when we want to access the data that's submitted via post, we can use the request variable instead of the get variable. There's also a post variable, which we'll get to in a little bit. But request will allow us to access it regardless of which type is being used. Now we're checking to see if the form got submitted by checking to see if there's a variable called action in the request array. There's not when we initially load this page, so let's go ahead and skip this code for now. Here's the closing bracket to that if statement, and here's an ending PHP tag. Now I'm going to scroll down to reveal some more of the code here. So up here, we have a PHP comment. It says, in example, we use post. So in this file, we're actually generating several forms. You see the opening form tag here, another one here, and if we scroll down a little bit, you'll see a third one down here. So each one of these will demonstrate a different purpose. In this one, we're simply doing the same thing we did in our previous example, except we're using post instead of get. Now what post will do is it will submit the data, but it won't be added to the URL. It will be hidden to that end user who's submitting the form. Now in general, this will be a more secure method in order to pass data from a form to a site, and then from the site back to the user. This is because URLs are stored in various ways. They're stored in browsing history. They can also be bookmarked. So if some important task is accomplished by submitting a form, and then we save that URL in some way, and then we go back to that URL, that could virtually resubmit that form when that wasn't our intention in the first place. So post hides that data in order to prevent certain accidental resubmissions, but it also hides the data so that it's not exposed to the world to see. The structure of this form is the same for the most part. We have our text input with the name of myString. We have our submit input, which has the display value of display the string. And then we have one additional input here, which is hidden, which means it doesn't display at all when someone is looking at the form in a browser. And the name is action, and the value for this one is display. So as we look at the other form examples here, you'll see they all have a hidden input, and the name is action, and then the value is different depending on what form is being submitted. The idea here is that the same page can include multiple forms, and we can test to see which form was submitted by checking what the value of the action input is. Unless we add some unique identifier to the form like this, then when we begin processing the data, we'll have no idea what form was actually submitted. And there are some different ways to approach this, but using a common input with the same name between multiple forms that are going to appear on the same page is one way to delineate them from one another. Okay, so here's the end of our form, and we're just separating the forms by a simple horizontal rule tag.